I'm Robin.
I'm Regina.
And I'm Avanti.
So today we're here to talk about a very important issue. We're going to be talking about the Children's Aid Society, and we're going to be talking about how it does more harm than good.
Yeah, and we're also going to be talking to someone who's actually experienced being taken by the Children's Aid Society, so stay tuned for that.
To get into all of that, I'm going to talk about how Children's Aid Society originated. It all started with the founder, Charles Loring Brace. He was a philanthropist, and he specialized in social work in less privileged children, in poor children, and he wanted to give them a better future, a brighter future. It all started with good intentions, but that is not what it's turned into. It's not government run, so Kyarra has more information on that.
Yeah, so like Ashley said, a lot of people believe that it was run by the government, but it's actually run on a local level. So the government does give them money. They're funded 100% by the government, but that's only because the Children's Aid Society is basically doing the government's dirty work for them. They allow the Children's Aid Society to have their own policies and to have their own procedure so that if anybody wants to sue Children's Aid Society, like the government won't be sued too, because they just don't want any part in actually being known to be a part of the Children's Aid Society.
They're protecting themselves.
Yeah, they're protecting themselves, so basically what they're saying is those are all policies that they made, it's all personal, and it's their procedure, so don't sue us, sue them. So Children's Aid Society also has their own way of limiting their liability to litigation by having each part of the organization have their own local chapter and having it be run by their own elected board of directors, so that when a parent tries to sue them, they can only sue that one local chapter. They can't sue the whole organization, and that actually won't do anything. It's not going to change their organization. It's not going to help really unless you were to sue the whole thing, which you can't. And that's because they don't want that. They want to be able to run it the way they have it. They want the power that the government's giving them to take away your kids, basically legally kidnap them, and the government will just turn away from it and pretend like it's not happening. Which goes into how well planned this is between the Children's Aid Society and the government, basically so that the government gets their dirty work done without actually getting the blame of it. And then the Children's Aid Society gets to work like in whatever way they please, because they have as much power as the government gives them. Which leads into how Children's Aid Society can actually bankrupt you. All like the court work and stuff that corresponds with them taking away your child is so much money. It's like grand on grands. So they will make you spend no less than $6,000 to do fake psychiatrist assessments that they make up, and they'll use it against you if you say you don't want to do it. They'll just say like, oh, then you're guilty, then you're a terrible parent, and then we're going to take away your kid. And then also for you to find a lawyer, that's another grand. So this is all planned out so that you stay out of the picture. They keep getting funded by the government, and they make sure that you can't fight back. You have absolutely no power because they have your kids. What are you going to do? And it'll never cost them a dime. It'll cost you your whole entire
They
life.
truly don't care at all about the people, about the children. Because if you think of it, they don't even when they're picking foster parents, they don't choose foster parents that are like good, that do wonderful things for the community. They think, oh, this man, this woman has an interest in the child, and they have money.
And a lot
That's
of the times, foster parents are only in it for like the money because they get paid by the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And some of them even they're like, oh, what is this kid? He's poor, he's into drugs. Like, they don't care about them. That's an easy target. If they're abusive, it's an easy target.
They don't even really care if you're abusive. They'll just like, based off of one person's judgment, one person's little judgment, they'll just take away your kid. And they can take away your kid without a reason, and they'll make a reason if they don't have a reason, because they'll make you do a bunch of psychiatric assessments that are like based off of complete
Nothingness.
Complete junk science that's like made up from them. They'll just do it all of a personal preference because that's what it all is. It's all based on personal policies, personal procedure, and that's really all it is.
Yeah, like a lot of the times they don't really do like background checks on the parents. There was this one man, Donald Klaskes. He had a foster child and he was abusing her for years and eventually got her pregnant. But even after like he had these criminal charges, he was given over like 42 different foster kids. So like even though Children's Aid knew about his crimes, they still allowed children in his care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that kind of corresponds to how inexperienced the workers can be.
Yeah, how negligent they can be, like how much they just don't care.
They're
like,
in it
oh,
for the
you're
money.
interested? Okay, take this kid.
Most
No one
of the
cares.
workers in the Children's Aid Society, they're unqualified. Listen to this. There's recently judges and police, they've allowed this woman. She's young, she's around 20 years old, and she has no kids, and she has a 3-month college certificate from basically nothing, just graduating from college.
Yeah.
And this woman is allowed to take you away from your home. This woman that has nothing, she's allowed to take you away from your home, from your family, and along with employees, most of them don't have children themselves. So they don't know what it's like to have an emotional attachment to your kid. They don't know what it's like to have your kid being taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just horrible.
They have no empathy, really. They can't really sympathize. They can't really put themselves in like any type of motherly or fatherly figure, depending on.
They don't know what it's like.
Yeah, and they like honestly, they're really just in it for the money and power because they do get funded like a lot of money, and it's a job. It's a job to them. It's not really anything that they have to think about. It's a job. Workers are really inexperienced and also they really don't care, but there are some who do care and they're also being negatively impacted because of this.
A lot of the times, since they don't really have like a proper like protocol or anything in the workforce of social workers who actually like go and visit the kids and actually like keep tabs on the kids, a lot of them suffer, like they'll go alone to a dangerous foster home and they'll suffer like verbal abuse, physical abuse. A lot of them are kicked and punched and like spit at. And even social workers from Children's Aid Society show higher stress scores than other emergency services, so like firefighters and like paramedics. A lot of the times they have to go alone, and 70% of child and youth workers have reported being assaulted while they're like on a case. So they go through a lot as well. And they'll even go to college and like school to go into the field of like social working, but after they see news about like, you know, like there'll be cases about like, because a lot of social workers will have like a child die on their watch.
Yeah.
So.
And that's traumatizing to them as well.
Yeah, they have a lot of the times when they do experience traumatizing things, they're just instructed to like get over it or take a sick day.
Yeah.
So there isn't really any treatment for them while they take on a lot of the stress that they have to help the kids with.
Yeah, and there's also, like, there have been a few cases where people will come in, like, genuinely wanting to help these kids, but then they realize how corrupt Children's Aid Society actually is, and they just, like, walk away from it.
Yeah, they'll either leave or become just like everyone else.
Yeah, because a lot of the times the caseworkers work hours, like, sometimes they'll work 19 hours straight, just checking back and forth between the families that they're assigned to. And when you're not getting enough rest and you're like under that much stress all the time, like, because you don't know what can happen to the families that you're supposed to be keeping tabs on, and since there's a lot of stress there, it could kind of like lead to their corruption because they're not thinking properly and they're always like in a state of panic or stress and they don't get enough rest. So It kind of messes with like your mind too.
Yeah.
When you're surrounded by that kind of thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we've been thinking about like the parents and like their perspectives about how they're taking away the child. Let's think about the children. Like, I don't think some children don't even want to get taken away from their parents. And now she's a woman, but when she was a child, she got taken away from her parents. And we have a phone call.
So we're here today with Jamie. Welcome to The Exposure. How are you?
I'm good. A little nervous to be here.
Just breathe and speak the truth. So to begin, how old are you?
I'm 17.
And how old were you when you were taken away from your family by the Children's Aid Society?
I was 9 years old.
Oh my god, that's horrible. You were so young. That must have been traumatizing.
It was. I didn't want to leave my dad. He never hurt me in any way.
And your mom? Where was your mom through all of this?
She passed away when I was little. I only remember little things about her, but my dad didn't take it very well. After she died, the only way my dad could cope with it was through drinking.
And this is what led the Children's Aid Society to take you away?
Yeah, I guess. But even if we weren't living luxuriously, I always felt safe with him. And he was my only family. They took that away from me. He never hurt me in any way, and even though he didn't have much, he had enough to provide for me.
And are you still in contact with your dad? Do you still talk to him every now and then?
No, I lost contact with him as soon as they took me away. I don't even know where he is right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That must have been upsetting. I mean, you must miss him, don't you?
Yeah, I always wonder if he still thinks of me. I hope he does. I always go back to that exact moment I was taken away and think about how much better off I would have been if I just stayed with him and was never taken away and put into different foster homes.
So, if you had a choice, you would choose to stay with your dad, who was an alcoholic at the time, rather than being taken away by the Children's Aid Society?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, he could provide for me still, and I was healthy with him and I was perfectly fine. I probably would have lived a better life with him and got a job earlier so that I can help providing for him too and helping him get better as well. And neither of us would have really been negatively impacted if I just stayed. And because of this, I got into drugs and theft, and I actually went to juvie when I was just a young teen. And I feel like all of that would have been prevented if I never went through all the trauma that I did in Children's Aid Society and if I were just with my dad at home.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for sharing your story, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
The kids are being treated so poorly
Yeah.
by
Their families now, if it is family, like the kids will be taken from their family, then put into sometimes a worse family, a foster home, and then start being treated badly by their social worker. So who does this kid have? No one. And it impacts them the most.
It's emotionally traumatizing.
It's traumatizing.
It really is, especially because some kids don't even want to be taken away from their
Yeah.
home. And when they are, it ends up making it worse because then they can get into, they're more exposed to violence and drugs from
Bad
the Children's Aid.
influences.
Yeah.
From Children's Aid Society, and it can easily corrupt them too. There's not really much you can do about it because Children's Aid Society, one, has so much power that there's no way you can really stop the way they work. And what are the kids gonna do? The kids they don't really have any background support anymore, and
if they're grown up with this whole
exactly.
everyone's saying you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, no one wants you, then they're gonna think no one wants them and that they're bad. And
They don't really get to go back to their old family once they've been taken out.
Yeah.
They don't get to see.
They lose contact because they get thrown into different foster homes, and it's not always in the same place. It can be in different states, different provinces.
And the Children's Aid Society does such a good job to make sure that the parents are completely out of the picture, even when the kid may not want that, because then they're never gonna know the real family again.
For example, there's 15 to 20% of all children under Children's Aid custody that experience neglect or injury somehow. So it's the kids are being taken out of their homes and placed into dangerous homes, and it's for the parents. So imagine your kid being taken from you and then put with someone who could care less about them, really. There was one girl who she was taken from her mom, and she died at age 13 from a heart attack, and there was she's been having seizures for 10 years. And when medical officials in the school went to her foster mom about it, she said, "Oh, well, I've never seen her have a seizure. I've never seen anything like that happen." So it's they don't really care about the kids.
yeah.
And
And
this
this
is
medical reports showing that she has,
And this is someone's kid, and obviously they could be with their parents who actually care enough to look after them that way, but then
They're being treated like objects.
basically.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be passed around. You basically don't have a permanent home. You don't have permanent parents. You don't have anyone who's permanently
Caring for you.
exactly, because most of these people are being paid to care for you.
Yeah.
Kids, like Regina was saying, they're put into bad foster homes. And mostly if you think about it, it's because these employees, they value their opinion more than yours. They value their opinion more than others. They only look at one side of things. They look at one perspective. They don't look at different views. And also, one thing about them, very opposed to the Bible.
They'll
they don't-
discriminate based
Yeah,
on religion.
they have no morals.
Like everything is basically based on their, like I keep saying, based on their policy, their rules. They don't really care about like parents, obviously, and like if they think their opinion's better, they're going to do that. They think, or they try to make it look like you are a psycho.
Wrong, yeah.
You are not unfit to take care of your child, and so then they say like, I have power over you. You can't do anything about this because now everyone else is going to look at you the same way I do. So they have all the power because it's their opinion, and they say you're like this, and you can't do anything about that because
Yeah.
they have the government on their side, and yeah, they have all the power.
They're not even held accountable for like what they do wrong. Like
Yeah.
like in court, there was this one case where these two kids were found in the basement of a Hamilton couple, and before the police showed up, there was a social worker there, and she saw the basement, and she said there was nothing wrong, even though there was like human like waste everywhere, and like dead rats everywhere. And then in court, she said like her defense was like she had a bad cold, so she couldn't smell anything. Like.
Wow.
That's so bizarre. That is like so. I can't believe they actually took that.
Yeah.
If anything, I can't believe they believed that. But yeah, it's crazy. They have all the power. They can manipulate. They can not only manipulate you, because they will. They'll manipulate you into getting all your money and taking your kids, and you literally can't do anything about that. They manipulate the government because they're saying, hey, we're doing you a favor, and they can manipulate courts because, like I said, they have all the money and all the power. Like they, what they say goes.
Yeah, and like it doesn't even matter. Like Children's Aid Society employees, they can discriminate based on religion, like we talked about, and they do discriminate based on race. Like there's been multiple cases. We don't even have enough time to speak about how many cases, but enough cases where somebody, a third party, Kiki Oju, she is a face for stopping and ending racial discrimination within Children's Aid Society. And since we don't have enough time to talk about all of the cases, I will put a link in at the bottom. And if you wanted to add your opinion on how discriminatory it is, then go ahead, do that. It's very encouraged because this needs to end. It's a very serious matter.
Yeah, and I also want to just like add on to the whole anti-Christian thing because they are very anti-Christian. They're very anti-Bible. They don't listen to the Bible. They'll make false charges against parents just because of their Christianity, just because of their religion and their beliefs, and they will make them do fake psychiatric tests just to try and prove in some way that they're bad for their children when really they're not. And their morals are probably better than the actual Children's Aid Societies. But yeah, like I said, Children's Aid Society is so attracted to atheism, evolution, and humanism, and they're completely anti-Christian. They don't go off the Bible at all. They don't believe in the Bible. They won't let you foster a child if you are, or adopt a child if you are a Christian. They think that disciplining children by spanking them is bad, yet they will pull and force kids out of their homes while they're kicking and screaming to stay, and that's, I feel, more abusive than, spanking your kid, for discipline. And they think that's worse because apparently the Bible says to spank your child to discipline them, and they're saying that that's wrong, yet they're literally kidnapping children, putting them into even more violent homes, and like hurting them more than and abusing them more than a spank would. And they will mark you if they know that you go to church, you attend church every Sunday, they will mark you in their files and in their minds as a special risk. Therefore, if you're a Christian, don't expect to be chosen by Children's Aid Society to foster a child, because they most likely won't pick you.
As a parent, this can be terrifying to have Children's Aid Society show up at your house and request an investigation that you have no idea for. That's why here on The Exposure, we have come up with a protocol with the help of Josh P. Schumann, who deals with child and family law, for parents to help them through these difficult times. First things first is do not refuse to speak with with the workers, because that is actually illegal.
And they'll use it against you.
Yeah.
So
So
make
you
it
have
seem
to,
like you have something to
yeah.
hide.
As well as go out of your way to be nicer to them, so they know that, like, show that you are concerned about your child. Say thank you. Show that,
Show that you're obedient.
yeah.
Show that, you can, like, you behave well.
And show that you'll be able to teach your kids like
Yeah,
so.
good manners.
Yeah. Keeping the house clean and tidy is also an important aspect of this, because if your house seems to be clean and tidy, this can show that you have your life together as a parent and you can handle things on a better level. As well as letting the worker speak with your child alone. This will show that you have nothing to be worried about, and you're giving your child the freedom to speak to another adult about what's going on in the situation, and this will cause less suspicion. As well as speaking to a lawyer can be helpful when signing any documents regarding Children's Aid Society, because these documents are very sneaky.
Complex, exactly.
Very,
they
like,
can
complex,
easily
yeah.
find a way to use something in that contract against you later on.
Loopholes.
Yeah.
Loopholes.
Yeah, so make sure you get a lawyer, you know what you're signing, because your rights may be taken away as a parent and you'll have no idea why. Last but not least, as a parent, you are entitled to get all the details on your case and what exactly the social worker has written and everything. So parents should definitely take advantage of this. It has gotten more bigger to read your file, and although these are kept very confidential, as a parent you are entitled to these files to see what your child said and everything else.
So I think we pretty much covered how Children's Aid Society does more harm than good.
Yeah, and we have a lot more knowledge of what actually goes on inside of Children's Aid Society.
As well as parents, this can be terrifying, as said before, so it's better that we all know the precautions and know what's really going on in a child's life and the adults around them.
This was definitely an eye-opener for us, I think.
Yeah, and maybe next time before resorting to Children's Aid Society, think twice. That's what we have for today on The Exposure.
Who will we expose next?
Stay tuned.
Bye!